The global trade landscape is once again being reshaped by the unpredictable actions of former U.S. President Donald Trump. Having already imposed tariffs on imports from Canada and Mexico, Trump has now set his sights on the European Union, raising the specter of a transatlantic trade war. In 2018, he imposed tariffs on steel and aluminum imports from Canada, Mexico, and the EU, citing national security concerns. These tariffs were met with immediate retaliation, as the affected countries imposed their own tariffs on a range of U.S. goods. Now, with the EU in his crosshairs, Trump seems intent on widening the trade conflict. His threats of new tariffs on European goods have sent shockwaves through the global economy, raising fears of a tit-for-tat escalation that could spiral out of control. To understand Trump's rationale for imposing tariffs, one must delve into his deeply held beliefs about trade and America's role in the global economy. Trump has long maintained that the United States has been treated unfairly in international trade agreements. Trump has repeatedly accused the EU of unfair trade practices, claiming that they have taken advantage of the United States for too long. He believes that these practices have undermined the American economy. He argues that the EU, along with other major economies, has erected barriers to American goods and services, while benefiting from open access to the U.S. market. This, he asserts, creates an uneven playing field. This perceived imbalance, in his view, has resulted in a trade deficit that harms American businesses and workers. Trump often points to the closure of American factories and the loss of manufacturing jobs as evidence of this harm. Trump subscribes to a protectionist view of trade, believing that tariffs are a necessary tool to protect American jobs and industries from foreign competition. He sees tariffs as a way to level the playing field and bring jobs back to the United States. He views tariffs as a way to exert leverage over other countries and extract concessions that he believes are in America's best interest. By imposing tariffs, Trump aims to renegotiate trade deals to favor the U.S. However, this approach has often backfired, leading to retaliatory tariffs and strained diplomatic relations. These retaliatory measures have sometimes hurt the very industries Trump aims to protect, creating a complex and contentious trade environment. The European Union, a powerful economic bloc in its own right, is not one to back down from a trade fight. In response to Trump's tariff threats, the EU has signaled its readiness to retaliate with tariffs of its own, targeting strategically important sectors of the U.S. economy. The bloc has already demonstrated its willingness to retaliate, having previously imposed tariffs on billions of dollars worth of U.S. goods in response to Trump's steel and aluminum tariffs. EU officials are currently drawing up a list of American products that could be subject to retaliatory tariffs. Both sides seem determined to stand their ground, raising the stakes and increasing the risk of a protracted and damaging trade conflict. The prospect of a trade war between the US and the EU has sent shockwaves through the global economy, creating a ripple effect that is being felt across various sectors. Businesses and investors are bracing for the impact of higher tariffs, disrupted supply chains, and increased uncertainty. The fear of the unknown is causing many to rethink their strategies and prepare for the worst. The International Monetary Fund, or IMF, has warned that a full-blown trade war could shave billions of dollars off global GDP growth. This could have far-reaching consequences for both developed and developing economies. One of the most immediate consequences of a trade war is likely to be increased volatility in financial markets. Investors are already seeing wild fluctuations in stock prices and other financial instruments. The uncertainty surrounding the imposition and impact of tariffs can lead to wild swings in stock prices, exchange rates, and commodity prices. This unpredictability makes it difficult for businesses to plan for the future. In the longer term, a trade war could lead to higher prices for consumers and businesses. This inflationary pressure could erode purchasing power and lead to a decrease in consumer spending. Perhaps the most concerning potential consequence of a trade war is the risk of a global recession. The combination of higher costs, reduced consumer spending, and economic uncertainty could push the world into a prolonged downturn. The escalating trade tensions between the US and the EU are casting a long shadow over businesses and consumers on both sides of the Atlantic. Businesses are grappling with the uncertainty of potential tariffs, while consumers are bracing for higher prices on a range of goods. For businesses, the prospect of a trade war is fraught with uncertainty. The imposition of tariffs can upend carefully crafted supply chains, forcing companies to find new suppliers or absorb higher costs. Consumers are also likely to feel the pinch of a trade war. Tariffs on imported goods will inevitably lead to higher prices for a wide range of consumer products, from automobiles and electronics to clothing and food. The trade war also threatens to undermine business and consumer confidence. As the US and the EU edge closer to a full-blown trade war, the question on everyone's mind is whether diplomacy can avert a potentially catastrophic economic conflict. The stakes are incredibly high, with the global economy hanging in the balance. A trade war could lead to severe economic repercussions, affecting not just the US and the EU, but economies around the world. There have been some glimmers of hope that a trade war can be averted. Both sides have expressed a willingness to negotiate a solution, and there have been some high-level talks aimed at easing tensions. However, significant differences remain, and it is unclear whether these talks will be enough to bridge the divide. One of the main challenges to reaching a diplomatic solution is the deep mistrust that exists between the US and the EU. This mistrust has been built up over years of economic and political disagreements, making negotiations even more complex. The coming weeks and months will be crucial in determining whether the US and the EU can find a way to avert a trade war. The world watches with bated breath, hoping for a peaceful resolution. The outcome of these negotiations will have far-reaching implications, potentially setting the tone for international trade relations for years to come.